G'day and welcome to part 3 on the ZK Fairlane, where we pull it right down. There's still a few bits and pieces that need to come out in the next video, but the next video is going to be more about the XC. I've got work to do on that, and we've had some inclement weather, so I thought what better time is there than crack into the Fairlane. So in this video it's all about the Fairlane and get the engine out, a few other bits and pieces, and also the red motor. There's a little bit on that, not much on that, and that red motor is for the EJ. So I hope you enjoy. Well, I have to apologise because I started removing stuff like this and I didn't turn the camera on. And I took sheer delight in removing gas stuff and wiring, and it's over there. Apart from the top radiator hose and the shroud, that's all gas crap. And this a shut-off valve for the fuel. There's also a bit of gas paraphernalia down there now. Car's still got its tank in. You can see it there. And it's still got about an eighth of a tank of fuel in it. I can't do any welding until all that stuff's gone. So, not really sure I'm going to get rid of that tank. The wiring's almost out. I've got the cabin wirings inside on the back of the dash there, and I've got, this is the engine loom. Different from our older Falcon in that it goes underneath the engine to this side. It comes up here for horns and stuff. One horn had the tang broken off, the terminal broken off. The other one was like a aftermarket. I'm going to take the heater box out after all, because I've got to weld all up around there. And I'll take the master and slave out, the master and booster, sorry, out. I've lost my fan spanner for this. I think it's a 32. And you stick it on, you give it a punch that way, and the fan will just spin off. And then I can remove all this. What's not going to be popular is I'm not going to reconnect the air conditioning just yet. I've no money. Reconditioning and air conditioning is going to be sort of a grand, you know, by the time you buy a compressor and all that sort of stuff. There's no way in a fit I'm using a York. I actually really hate them. They're inefficient and they take a lot of engine power and just they look terrible. So I'll cap those off to try and make them look neat. I'm not really sure I'm going to do that. Yeah, and the rest of the stuff I won't get rid of. I need, because the problem is the compressor's on this side, on the cleaver, and it's on that side. So your condenser and everything's the same, receiver, dry, TX valve, that's all the same. It's your low pressure line that's different, or your low and high pressure lines are different because the compressor's sort of sitting up here high in the engine, but it doesn't matter. That can be put in by somebody else later on. I'm getting ready. I've got to get some spot weld drills sharpened, but I'll buy another couple to do this because I want them neat, to pop that off. At the moment I'm using, this could be another Nick Sagliano tool, this vacuum pump. I'm using it to drain the master cylinder, and it's an absolute cracker. These are invaluable for checking out vacuum operation for your instruments and that sort of thing. It's got a mark on it. Whoops, sorry, that is supposed to be that way to keep it straight, but I'm leaving it this way because I don't want any chance of any fluid getting up this line here. And we just do this and it fills that vessel up. Absolutely brilliant. That'll do for now, and I'll empty that. It's just the super cleanest way of doing it. It's brilliant. Right, I'm getting ready to pull the engine out of this. The only thing holding the exhaust up is that little bolt there. It's undone from the manifold and undone the fuel lines. I'm going to do that aircon line. The exhaust, talk about it. The problem with this, I've lost my fan spinner, so this engine's going to have to get taken out vertically with the transmission still in the car, and then I'll drop that out. And a bunch of bits and pieces on this end. Just got to cut the fuel lines and Bob's your uncle. The fuel line on the V8 comes in a different direction. These ones come in here. The V8 one comes out there. I wasn't going to take that silly gas tank out. I'm a bit worried about that because it's massive. You can make a submarine out of that. Now, I've got to take that out, and I've been looking online to see where it can be disposed of safely in this area. And I think one of the councils has a place where you can take gas tanks. Anyway, I got a fright before moving this Galaxy, and the accelerator pump stuffed on it, and there's a bit of fuel hose there going along and into the carburetor. I've got a temporary fuel tank here. It was running off the main fuel tank with a fuel filter. And it couldn't cope, or it didn't look like it was coping with the amount of pressure. And it ruptured. There's still fuel around the base of the carburetor there. It's not safe. Anyway, there was fuel spraying all around the dizzy. I just thought, oh my god, we could have had a fire. So, I've got to look at that. I might do a fuel pressure check on that pump. It looks like a new pump, but it might be pushing too much pressure. So I've got to have a look at that, because I do not want a fire. Right, so I've been to see Sam at Tech Coat. Here are our bumper irons, all beautiful. Look at the sheen level. These are bumper irons, you never actually see them. Absolutely gorgeous work that guy does. That's sandblasted and powder coated. I've had both of them done. The plating I had done, I'm not that happy with it though. The gold is too, like, candy gold, sort of. It doesn't look really like the Ford gold, but you can't see it, I don't think, on the camera. So there's dark gold and there's light gold. It depends which bath they put it in, I guess. I've just got to take those little wires off there because they're the ones I use downstream from the copper hanger wire, so it doesn't come off if there's anything wrong with the copper. Some of these springs turn out alright. They're the ZK/XD indicator springs for the hold the front on. The Galaxy striker plate came up a treat, and you know, yeah, they did come up well, but they were hydroblasted at the same time. There's the Galaxy's floor things. That's probably better leaving them raw, because then they become sacrificial. The rust goes through them before the floor, but now they're plated. That wouldn't happen. Then of course I got stuff back like this, which looks terrible. Also from the plater, Susie's windmill fan that I repaired. And then of course they decided to do two of those gold and them silver. You don't see these. These are under the scuttle plates. On the car, or the kick panel, sorry. What do you call it? The kick trim things underneath the door with the wiring looms. They cover up the wiring looms. It doesn't matter if it's got gold and silver. There's supposed to only be one colour, which is silver. That's the jack ratchet thing for the Galaxy. And of course the XA's throttle linkage. Having trouble figuring out which key opens the Fairlane's boot. Because I want to have a look at this big, what do you call it, Zeppelin gas tank. Oh yeah, that's the one. And now, that latch. Okay, where's the tap? Is that the main tap there? And that was on. They automatically shut off with that and only open if there's electricity. So when you turn the ignition on. I don't want any rude surprises. That's where it's filled there. And it's obviously gone under the car. This is going to be a pain in the ass. And I've got to weld up. I can't do any welding until all this is eradicated. So I'll weld a plate there. I've got to get this bastard out though. I'm not really sure how to do it. I've taken gas out before in a XB that I bought for school. But I thought while I'm taking the engine out, it's a good idea to get rid of that, because I don't want to weld or do anything until I know that what I'm doing is actually safe. So I could crack that, and if anything comes out, see, that hasn't got a shut off on it. So I'm tipping if I crack that, gas is going to fly, and that would be something of a worry. Right. I need to be safe about this. Oh, well, I haven't had a great look under here since I bought the car. I know about that hole and that hole. So we got gas hole. There's the fill tube. It goes up behind the tow bar, so that's accessible behind the number plate. So I'll just take things like these bolts out in preparation, and it runs Oh, it's got king springs. I never noticed that. It runs down the front. These rear calipers, the handbrake didn't work. The front cable I thought was seized because that's where the water was leaking, but it wasn't. It could be this rear brake cable. So I can just stick a screwdriver in and see if it's in the calipers or it's in the cable. That's pretty easy. Exhaust system will probably stay fairly well like that. I'm going to have this car quiet. Tail shaft's a nice big one. It looks like a 351 shaft. Hang on a minute. It's a big sucker. I'm going to undo that and get it ready to... I'll leave the transmission and pull the engine out by itself. I'm just going to take these gas... these little gas things off, the ones I can reach at the back. It's actually really good nick. I might be doing a diff pinion seal. In fact, I'm pretty sure I will be. Power steering box is just leaking everywhere. There's not much left in there, but look at this. The handbrake cable seems to be okay. So it might just be rebuilding these. I've just got to find where it's seized. But I've just taken this gas line out. The tank appears to be empty. And I might be changing those too, those rubber brake lines. I don't mind changing those. It's actually good practice anyway. Sway bar link bushes. Hang on. Can we see? Yeah, there. They're stuffed. I'll put a set of those in, some D bushes, and we'll put the sway bar back in. It's got the Watts link, and the fuel tank should be nice and easy to get out too. It's got a bunch of fuel lines. There must be fuel return lines and stuff there, I'm not sure. I haven't done an awful lot of work on one of these. Like, I used to work at City Ford, Southern City Ford, and at Etheridge Ford. And these didn't, a guy said they're the biggest heap around, but I remember doing like 2 rear mains a day at City Ford on XFs and ZLs. I think I did 1 or 2 on XEs, I can't remember, but these never gave really too much trouble. Oil leaks was the main thing, you know. Timing case oil seals, that sort of stuff. I'm looking at this. It hissed a tiny bit. That's the fill tube. Hang on, there we go. So I've just got to purge the line. I'll do that at the front to ascertain if there's anything there. I don't think there is because there's no shut off on that. That just goes straight in, as far as I'm aware. There's a gauge. What does that say? It says there's gas in there. Hang on. That is something to keep an eye on. I didn't see that. So we're definitely going to be making new brake lines for this. Down the back, you probably can't see it from here, they're pretty knackered. The handbrake cable's alright though. It seems alright. This is a 35 or I think like 55's an XF. I can't remember. So some of that wiring loom that plugs here is for the transducer. It's all electronic. So I'll just undo that. I think it's already undone anyway. And I'll pop a jack under there. I'll just loosen, undo the torque converter. I've taken the starter motor out so I can just push the converter back and the engine will lift straight up. Cool. Now this bloody gas thing. Here we go, shut off. So if I'm doing the line down there, let's have a look at this. Well, the gas is isolated, which is good. I've capped that off and there's nothing in there. If I open that, nothing will come out. But just vapors and this sort of thing. Hang on, I might be easier doing that with my left hand. Just a sec. So I'm happy with that. That gauge gave me a fright. When you empty your compressor out, there's a bit of ice, blocks it up. Well, I was a bit worried when I took that off. I just cracked it and it went, there was nothing in there. And came back after, cracked it again, Zippo. So I'm pretty convinced that that's all good and safe now. So we can take this copper out. This is all disconnected. And that's a good thing to hang on to. Good quality copper tube like that. It's expensive. We'll take that little ring out, welder, circle there, and this will be reinforced steel hose. There's a gasket around that lid, so if any gas leaks out, it actually exits the vehicle down there. But that's good. That's a good job done. So today's a new day. It's Good Friday. It's about midday, and I'm going to dinner tonight, which means I've got to allow enough time for a shower because I'm a grot and get all this work done. Now, first thing we've got to do is take that grey block off that stand. I was going to have it all wired up in a whole EJ Holden with a grey motor and run it, which we're not going to do now. But I am going to have to cut that and weld bits onto it to stick that red motor on, which we'll talk about shortly. It has a Trimatic tied on the back, which is coming off. It will go back on the engine eventually. I think I've got a bell housing. I can take that bell housing off, but I think I've got another bell housing because I want to have it so I can start it on this. So I've just got to get a stand and take this off. I need one of those trolleys. I've got to sell that block. That's the other grey that's had all the machine work done. And I've got another one of those somewhere. Right, so we're going to be getting back to the Fairlane reasonably shortly. I'm going to try and mount this 6 onto that trolley you can see there. I've just got to modify it a bit. Right, this is a Holden 202. The staple of Australian motoring diet. They've been in pretty much everything. This is characterised by an L on the head, which is low compression. 202s in low compression are very, very rare, but this isn't a low compression one. So these motors came in 149, 161, 173, 179, 186 and 202. And so your low compression and high compression heads, the highs have an H there, a significant, I think 149s had high and low, I'm not sure. But they're significant to 149s, which were rated at 95 horsepower, I think, for a high compression one. 161s had high and lows, 173s had high and lows. When you get to 179s, none of them were low compression, I don't think. I've never seen one. 186s, 202s, both use a low compression head on the high compression motor because they've got different pistons. Certainly with the 202 they do as well. Now the S motor was much better than these. These engines will run out of puff at about 3.5 grand. Okay? They'll rev to 5.5, but there's no point because these little carburetors, these single barrels, can't feed them anymore. The S motors, so the LC GDR, had a 173S, and the standard 173 high compression is rated 118 horsepower. The S, I think, is 130. The 186 standard one's 126, and the S is 145. There's quite a bit of difference in them. They have a header arrangement, but most of the difference is to do with the carburetor. And I've put WWs on standard 202s and 173s, and they rev properly then. It gives them an awful lot more power. So it's mainly in the carburetor, even though the 186S and X2 manifolds are a dual type with a twin engine pipe. It's a nice looking piece of kit, but they're quite rare. So it remains to be seen what we do in that space. The standard EJ or EH Holden Red has a cast iron intake manifold, so it looks more period, really old fashioned. It looks lovely, but they're tubular and quite restrictive. I don't know that a 202 would like that too much, but this is my daughter's car, so she drives like a granny. She's like me, she drives quite sedately. So what I've got to do is I've got to remove this Trimatic. I haven't got another bell housing. The other one I've got is a grey one. I've got 2 grey ones, but no red ones. And I'm not sure. I think these bell housings contain part of the front pump on a Trimatic. I can't remember. So we'll take it off first and we'll have a look and see what we've got. Now, this is special. I call this Jill, this block, and I'll show you why. So this is a JL. That makes it quite unusual because it's from an LJ. Holden on their engine numbers, the first letter is the model original model, if you like. CD would be LC. Tirana, D would be 2850 or 173. Most of these are QL, so HQJXZ. L being high compression 202. You'll have HL, if you like, for LHLX Tirana, WL for WB, VL for VB, VC Commodore, that sort of thing. And so the early ones will have the engine number on them, 186P, 186S. But then they started using this model designation, I think, in the LC Toronto, or at the very end of the LC when the LJ came in. So that is a JL. Never had one. Originally from an LJ Toronto. Now they're the same as the GTR. The LC GTR had a 173S, which is the two-barrel Stromberg WW. I think there was a camshaft difference, and of course the headers, like we mentioned before. But by the time the LJ came in, it's just a bone stock 135 horse 202. So I'm rather pleased about that. Every now and then you'll see engines for sale with the converter still mounted to the flex plate or drive plate. Take the bolt out and make sure you can rotate the converter and push it back, and that way it won't hang up on that spigot. Right, well, I've got that converter undone. I'm just going to turn the motor around. I've got to chock it up and then pull the transmission off. I should use fact sheets. I never use fact sheets when I talk about this sort of stuff. I just use my memory. So your Holden 6s came in pairs. So your 149, 179. Now, when did the EJ finish? I think that was in 63. Late 63, maybe? I don't know. You have to check that out. That's one thing I don't know. So your 149 and 179 started in the EH. That went through the HD model, the following model. Then, I found that fan on the wall. It was mounted over there. Oh, my fingers don't work. It was over there, right? And then with the HR, you got your 161 and 186. And I don't even know when they finished. I think they finished in the HG, which was 71. Then your 202 and 173 came out. And your 202 and 173 are the longest lived, or they're the ones that were around for the longest. And they stayed as a red motor until VC Commodore, which was 1980. Then the blue motor came out. You still had your 173s and 202s. And they were 12-board head. That was the main thing. And did they have electronic injection in the ignition? I think they had electronic ignition. That's probably what that's off. That stayed around until the end of the VH Commodore, which was 1985 or 1984. I'm not going well. And then they dropped the 173 and they dropped the 253. So your VK only had a 202 and a 308. And then they discontinued it at the end of 1985. Now, let's see if I have a piece of wood that'll fit under the front of that. Hold that up while we yank the back off it. What do you think? That's not a bad idea. Where's my gloves? Oh, I don't need them. Fuck it. Beautiful, except not beautiful. Right, okay, so we'll just move the engine. I've got to figure a way to mount it on this thing, and I haven't got a bell housing, so I'm just going to have to wing it at the moment. Beggars can't be choosers. Damn, I can't get that in. There we go. I just want to have a look at this. I want to use that bell housing, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to. Oil is likely to go everywhere as soon as I take that converter out. Got so much of a plastic grab around it, put it. Right. Yeah, that goes internal as well. What a pain in the neck. Look, I reckon that is part of the front pump. If I take that bell housing off, so I don't think I will. I think I'll just pop that converter back in. And I have to come up with another idea because I don't have a bell housing. Figure something out, I suppose. Doing the same thing on the Fairlane now. I'm just rotating the engine so I can see the converter bolt. So I'm just rotating it to see that crank bolt's actually not very tight. and I'm just getting under with a rattle gun and a uni joint and taking it off. There's a little bit more. There's 4 on this, 3 on the 202. It should be about it there. Can I feel it? Yep, there it is there. And they're only very short. They're just little fine threads. 3/8 fine, very small ones. On the 600, the V8 ones are a little bit bigger. If you can rotate it, you know it's not jammed on the spigot. The centering one where it meets the middle of the crankshaft, and it's free. That'll come out. Are we focused? Let's take stock. Both aircon lines are off. All the wiring's out. Exhaust is disconnected. Torque converter is disconnected. These bell housing bolts are disconnected. There's only one there over yonder. Engine mount's disconnected. All our heater hoses are disconnected, obviously. Wiring on this side for oil pressure and all that sort of stuff, coil and that sort of thing, it's all disconnected. Kickdown cable's disconnected. Fuel lines both can't. It's got 2, I think it's got a return line. Power steering's strapped to the side of this, to the car. There is a cable there. What the hell is that? It's wiring and it's disconnected. So, and all this crap was bad anyway. So that engine is literally, where's my spanner? Just sitting there. And that, the bell housing bolts weren't even tight. So what I'll do, I've just got to chain it up and then take it out. But the thing that worries me is I've got to put a jack under the transmission to hold it, so it doesn't fall at the front. And there's some gas crap down there I can get rid of, you can see, and there's a transmission oil cooler that'll come out with the tranny. But my engine crane I don't think is going to go high enough for me, allowing enough room underneath it for it to be supported. So what we'll have to do is use different stands, smaller ones. There we go, last bell housing bolt. That one's out down there. Yep. So that's just sitting there now, that'll fall out. So let me figure out the height, because I haven't got enough height. Well, I have, but I just don't want to stuff the, I don't like them that high when you take them out, to be honest. You know, all these bolts can be categorized, and whatever I want to reuse, I'll get cleaned up. I'll take that air cleaner off too, because that's going to get in the way. Oops. Sorry about the light, it's because the side of the garage is open here. Oh damn, where's my 8mm stuff? We're ready to go now. I hope that chain's heavy enough. Yeah, I don't like pulling engines out like this, is stupid. The best way is to have the transmission on the engine and roll the car under it. Or sorry, yeah, lift the engine, then roll the car away. That's the best way to do it. You don't get that pendulum effect of the engine and transmission swaying around. This is stupid because I've got to take the engine out, then take the transmission out because of the length of it. I don't want to damage the radiator support, and I haven't got that thing, and you know, I've just got to do it this way, which is through sufferance. Sorry, it kind of looks silhouetted because of the background light. But I can't put the, what do you call it? The crane on the other side because it'll interfere with the, well, the camera, sorry, it'll interfere with the crane. I've got to lift the bloody thing. I might have to reposition the jack. I think I'm going to be getting that too. I don't know, I might make it. Right, let's see if she lifts up a bit, eh? Okay, we'll centre it a bit. Like that. Okay, let's go. Alright, let's see what's going on. Coming up the trans, isn't it? Oh yeah. Almost completely. It is off. Wow. Just need a bit more height and then it'll move forward a bit. I'm just worried about the amount of height I've got to give it. And the size of it with all the brackets on. It's got heaps and heaps of stuff on it. Yeah, what's going on? Yeah, I think we're good. I hope we're good. Bugger it. The converter did come out. I thought I had that free. Damn. Oh no. Why didn't it? That could have stayed there. What a mess. That is just not on. Total disaster. The converter ended up staying with the thing. I didn't check it properly. Stupid thing. Well, actually, I'm the stupid thing because had I done my homework properly, it wouldn't have happened. But look, it is what it is. And I've got it on the wrong angle, you can see it. It's not a good thing. Still. Well, I've done better work than that in the past. I don't think that was too good at all, really. I'll just get him safer to the ground. Damn. That was just the biggest screw up. But I'm going to leave it on here because I want you to see how big of a screw up it is. Look at my nice new floor. Oh well, it's out. So now I wanted today to be, taking gas tanks and all this sort of stuff, and I'm just going to leave it there. I'll leave some more material, fabrics and stuff like that to mop that mess up with. I'm pretty pissed off about that, but I'm normally a bit better than that, but today, maybe it's because I wasn't really in the mood, I don't know. Today I didn't do too well. That doesn't matter. It's a new day and we got some rain and we're back with the Fairlane. And the more I look in here, the better it is. It's beautiful, nice and straight. This is going to end up looking brand new. I'm convinced of it. And, oh, sorry, one more thing. Loads of hydroblasting and plating to get done. I want it to look good. It's going to look great with that 4.9 engine. When we have to paint it and do all this. Can't get to the good fun stuff until we fix this up. Some guy said they were walking the park. I don't know if he's done them or not, but it doesn't look overly difficult, but I don't want to assume it's going to be a walk in the park until I've actually unbuttoned it all and had a look. Fortunately, that brazing is nowhere near where I'm going to be micking, if you know what I mean. The back is disconcerting. I've got the tank ready to come out. Someone in all their infinite wisdom has glued these taillights in, and they're really good taillights. I don't want to damage them. There's just a bit of surface rust down there, nothing much. The boot compartment looks fantastic. I've taken that off. That was sitting out because of the gas filler thing. We've taken this off, so I'll use that as a template, weld up a plate there. And taking this off here, the gas filler. We've only got just a line running down there. Once we pull the bumper off, we'll take the line out. I'll leave the tow bar on because I'll probably use it. That was an interesting thing. The stainless strip under the taillights is actually what do you call it? Secured to this via those screws. Very easy to bend it if you're not careful. But the bane of my existence is Celastic, and this thing is stuck. And I do not want to break the housing. This is 1982, so this is there is a bit of movement there. It's going to be quite easy to damage if we're not careful. So I'm going to repaint all this, that edge, the boot channels, everything looks absolutely beautiful. That's just a seam there. All the boot channels look fantabulous, absolutely great. So there's only a little bit of rust up underneath the headlining there. Whoopie do. I'll take the window out too. I don't know if I can save the window seal, or I'll just buy another one. I'll just have a look at the availability. If window seals are $40, then I'll just cut it out. If they're $600 and you can't get them, well, it looks like I'm going to be trying to save that, but I'd sooner cut it out. Much easier to move a rear windscreen out without damaging it. They're not laminated, they're just solid glass. Where the front ones, I broke that in a million pieces, but I didn't care because it was broken where the mirror mount was. And there's some chicks. It's Easter. Right, got to get under the car. Fortunately, the people that fitted this gas actually didn't do a bad job. They've even welded those nuts there so they've become captive, so I can just get underneath and zap those two out. They had plates fitted under here to distribute the load, and I'll make sure to weld up those holes where the side mount was. The thing worthy of mention is that hole. That really does need to be blocked up. You can see the back tyre there, which means as we're going forward, it's spraying everything up and it'll get into the boot. Certainly if you look on the inside of that black tube, or the black vent tube, that's full of not just dust, but there's been liquid there, and of course it worked its way up into there as well. So we need to make sure that's blocked and sealed. Now Holden 6, I've bought a belt housing for $50 off Marketplace from a wonderful guy called Doug. I'm going to mount the belt housing, mount the starter, and do a compression test on the ground. I'm not going to build an engine stand and try and start it if it's buggered, but you know, if it's all right, we can check oil pressure and all that on the ground. Well, then we can build a stand, and just out of scraps obviously, and start him up. Difference in size and weight between that thing and that is phenomenal. That thing is huge. I mean, it's got some accessories on it, but it's a physically much bigger block, much heavier too. I like doing jobs like this. It's not a huge job. It looks like it is, but it's not, because it's only got a few issues. I'm getting carried away and just pulling everything off it. The shift has to come out anyway, because I'm going to pull the transmission out. And the 6-cylinder shifts on a different side to what the V8 does. But the good thing about jobs like this is that you do a little bit of work and you see a huge result. I've got this. I can weld that really easily. I've got that ready to unbutton that too. And the only other rust in it, and I've been right over it, is the bottom part of the left-hand quarter, which is a patch, and above the back windscreen. This job reminds me of the Sigma. And that thing was easy. It was big, but again, I didn't take out I took the engine out, but I didn't replace it with a bigger one, anything like that. I'll have to do that from underneath, I think. And I thought it might be easier to do it like this, but there. Probably. Oh, there it is. So I'll repaint that. I'll replace all this mastic sealer on the floor. I wish they'd use mastic on the taillights. The taillight's going to break if I'm not careful. I'll sharpen the edge of that, what do you call it? That spatula I used to cut the screens out of starlets with. And I'll just cut around the base. I'd sooner ruin the gaskets for the taillights than the taillights themselves. You know, so, and this, what we'll do, wire brush this really hard. If it's popped through anywhere else, we can probably just fix it with, you know, a bit of MIG, just over any small holes. Obviously some has to be cut out, But what I'd ultimately like to do, it's a pain in the neck here because of where it is. It's right at the back of the block. Is to take it down to a car wash and really wash underneath it where the steering box has been leaking. And there's a lot of kind of dried up mud underneath. I'd actually love to go and wash it properly. And then you come back and just spot clean areas you've missed and start preparing to paint the engine bay. I don't like Macca's, but I do like their strawberry thick shakes. Oh, very nice. Right, Fairlane. We're going to put this. There we go. Right. I've been getting carried away. You know what I'm like, right? So I've got to take this loom out. Stabilizer bar, and I've taken the brake caliper and all sorts of stuff off this side. I'm actually going to remove the entire front end. I think it's better. And the steering box, everything. So I need to clean up all over there. You can see how grotty it looks. That's all got to be cleaned up. I'm going to replace the brake lines. I've done the same thing the XDs have. So while the engine's not there, can do that. Cross member and tranny out. Got to take that gas stuff off there. Aircon line and wiring loom. There's also all these plastics to go around the radiator. And I'm just going to film these so that I can see where they go. They've got 8mm headed fasteners on both sides. These are held on, well, it's held on by a couple of self-tappers from beneath it. We can also get rid of these engine stands, the mount sort of brackets, if you like, because we're using different ones for the 8-cylinder. I can't believe actually how straight it is. It's beautiful, in really good condition. It's actually quite wonderful. How are these secured? Oh, yeah. This has got a wire clip on it. And get that redone. And that has a plastic one. We can reuse those too. Alright, so that's all going to come out now. I've got to try and remember how all this stuff goes. That's going to be a fun little exercise, isn't it? I'm going to have to I might take off the power steering brackets. That's going to give me some room to get those off, and I'll take that off as well. I've taken those engine things that didn't have a 6-cylinder ones were secured there. I always thought they were the same as the V8s, but I have less 6-cylinder experience. I've taken all these brackets. I'm just taking that loom out, and there we go. One more, and we've got the entire loom out. And I'm going to modify this loom. Obviously, where all the engine fittings and connectors go, the horn, everything will stay. The headlights, obviously, but the V8s on there, well, the XD V8s, their wiring comes out of here for the engine, at the centre, for the coil and temperature centre and all this. And it sits in convoluted the same as that. So I'll do the same thing with this one. So it just requires a little bit of modification. Not an awful lot, only a few wires. Your starter is on the same side. Hang on. Yeah, your starter's on the same side. Think about that. Alright, here we go. And I'll just roll this up and put it away. Oh, put it away for now. I'm not ready to do wiring, this sort of stuff. You know, Jason's and some of the other wiring jobs I've done, you kind of got to do it on site. So this being that I live here, I can, you know, open it up and do it all in situ on the car, which is much easier to do for me because then you get all your lengths exactly right. So that's about it for this one. Here's a messed up Fairlane. I've started taking bracing off, and it is hell to get that stuff off. I've made a hole in the plenum up there too, which isn't very good. So I'll take that side off. I'll take the whole plenum off in the next video. You'll see all that. The next video is actually going to be more about the XC. We've got our rather lovely powder coated bumper irons we talked about before for the XC, and also the plating. And I have to finish buffing it, and I have to paint underneath that part of the guard, and I want to put the bumpers on. I've put that drip rail on, but that's a messed up one. I just haven't got the funds at the moment to redo them. It's very ripply there. It did have a dent there and I got it out perfectly. This one I didn't, so who knows. I didn't have the patience. I've got the wiper arms to go on it. This car looks great. I'm happy with this car. It looks beautiful at the front. It's a very handsome car, isn't it? As I said, I've got to paint and do other bits and pieces to it. And then I'll have to sort of arrange a roadworthy. And then that's finished. So on that note, we've got our lovely Fords here. On that note, I'll say thanks very much for watching. Take good care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon.